that are ads that, and ironically it's for the YWCA that Mr. Kipukai will have to step out. So my first proposal is the cuts and the ads except for the YWCA ad. The first one is the $500,000 for wellness and productivity incentives. This is a significant request for funding that does not come with a plan. We heard it. And Mr. Werner, I appreciate you being here today, and I appreciate what you guys are trying to do. But you know, we are the guardians of the county's money. We are to make sure, and you know, I can tell you for myself, I don't like just putting money in pockets to be used later when we have a plan. Mr. Werner talked about how he laid it out is not what was laid out to us at the budget review. Let me just say that, Kalani. I'm not sure if you saw the budget review. And there was some discussion about how we would incentivize people that are abusing sick leave to come to work. That was definitely made mention of at the hearing. Kalani, you said something that's very important, and even makes my commitment even stronger, is that you guys are still going back and forth. You know, to me, benefits like this, employee benefits like this, should be in the collective bargaining agreement. That's where it should be. And if the administration is open to this, and the union is open to this, then it shouldn't be an issue to get in the collective bargaining agreement, rather than a year-to-year thing. Next year you might not have money. What are you going to do then? You're going to take it away? So I would suggest this for this wellness and productivity incentives, that either go back to collective bargaining or come back to us with a plan, a real plan. We heard a lot of, you know, when we're at budget review, you know, Councilmember Kaua'i made some suggestions of ideas, and you know, all we heard from HR was, yeah, we can look into that. That's why we want to do this. We can look at all of these things. Well, that's not good enough for me. If you don't have a plan, you cannot tell me how you're going to spend this money. Now remember, we have competing interests, and when I get to my ads, I'll explain why it's important. But that, to me, when we talk about non-essential expenditures, that's definitely one of them at the current time. Understand this too. I want to make this very, very clear. Throughout, and council members, throughout this fiscal year, we have seen so many money bills come to us. Money bills for expenditures that were not budgeted. We have never voted down a money bill. We just went through hazard pay settlements for several of the unions. Those monies weren't budgeted. So a money bill had to be created. It came to us with no objection, no opposition, and it all passed. The fact is, we generate more tax revenue in our budget. When you look at our budget, we don't spend everything that we budget for. So there's always money. In fact, if there is a plan in place, the administration has every opportunity to come back to this council with a plan, and we can do a money bill and fund that program if that's what the council wants to do. The other big one, there's really just three cuts, but the second one is the rodeo arena. Last fiscal year, the administration was generous enough to put $750,000 into this rodeo arena. This year, they increased it another $250,000, making it a full $1 million. And yet, not one penny has been spent. And yet, we haven't seen a plan. The last update we got from the review, budget reviews, was that they're still working with the landowner and trying to figure out how we're going to get water to the place. Again, I do not see the $1 million being spent this year, and we can use those funds for projects that impact our citizens directly. My proposal is to remove $550,000 from that line. That would still leave $450,000 in that line that you guys can use for the planning process, designing process, wherever you guys are at. But you guys are going to have to come back and show us some production, some movement, because we cannot just put money aside until we're ready. Those funds can be used. Understanding any of my proposals to add to the services and programs cannot happen without cuts. So if you support the ads, then we must find the cuts. And again, if the administration needs money later in the fiscal year, they can't come back. I'll remind the administration, when we were here for budget review, and I had informed the administration that I was hoping to get some rehabilitation work done to this building, because it's, from the outside, it looks horrible. And I was shocked to see that there was only $400,000 or $450,000 put in that line. And when I asked the administration why was that number so low, the rationale that the administration had was, as long as we have some money in the item, in the line, we can always come back if we need more money. So I'm going to ask the administration to utilize that same rationale with this rodeo arena. I'm okay with leaving 400. It's even more than I would like to, but that's all we need. I'm okay with leaving $450,000 in there. If you guys need to come back for more, I definitely support the rodeo arena 100%. But I do not support putting money in a line item, taking that money away from programs that are definitely important for our community. And the third cut is $275,000 from the what is called the Replace, Improve, Comfort Station various line item. We all supported the North Vidina, the soccer field restrooms. We did. And we put the money in there. In fact, back in the last administration, this council, the mayor was on the council at the time. We put in $750,000 with your help, Mayor. And that bathroom was never constructed. We put money in again this time, and the response we got was that the funding was inadequate. And the bids came in too high. So they took the 270, it was basically, I believe it was $450,000. They took the $275,000 and moved it into Replace, Improve, Comfort Stations line item. And there went the soccer field restrooms. So my proposal is to cut the $275,000 with an add later to make that amount sufficient for the construction of that restroom. The North Vidina restroom, adding $75,666 and $199,364 to North Vidina restroom. That is restoring the funds that was originally submitted in the initial submission in March. They had that money in there in addition to the $275. So they took $275, moved it over to the Replace and Improve Comfort Stations, and that two adds are to add funds back into the line item for the North Vidina Stadium, in addition to an additional $475,000 that would bring that complete total for the stadium, the soccer field restroom, to $750,000. Now, if we cannot build a restroom facility for $750,000, we need to find another consultant. We need to find another consultant. $750,000 is a lot of money. But I'm taking you guys at your word. You're saying the bids came in low. Okay, so now we've taken away that objection. Go build those stadiums. I mean, the restrooms. I've also added $200,000 for invasive species mitigation. These funds would be going over to OED. They manage the grants. I know there's some funding in there, some increased funding for the coconut rhinoceros beetle. I want to keep it broad, so OED has an opportunity to utilize these funds as they see fit, and community organizations, nonprofits, or even private businesses could apply for these grants to take care of invasive species on our island, whether it's the parakeet, the coconut rhinoceros beetle, and also $100,000 for little fire ant mitigation. I just learned about this infestation of little fire ants in the Kaua'i area, and it is at a point now where we can actually manage it, we can get rid of it, like we did with coqui frogs. It costed us $300,000 coqui frogs. I'm told by KISS that $100,000 for this fiscal year budget would be sufficient to at least eradicate the ants in that area. So that is my proposal. The other ad is for $75,000 for desktop review software. If you remember, we had this discussion at budget review with Scott from our real property tax office. This would provide the resources that they could actually do desktop assessments and look for improvements in properties much quicker than they do now, giving us a much more accurate picture on our properties. And then one more, and this is actually by request of Mr. Kaua'i. $40,000 for outreach, low-income bus fare programs. This would be going to elderly affairs. Right now, our transportation department has funding allocated for free bus passes for the low-income residents. We do have a waiting list. Several of the nonprofits have waiting lists, and people are not able to get this. So this is just a supplement to that program. However, because it's in the transportation fund or the GE fund, we're putting this in the general fund, and elderly affairs can work collectively with transportation on that program and provide more of our needy residents here the ability to have free bus passes. So that's my initial proposal. That's what's on the first sheet, and I hope to make this all happen, those cuts are necessary. I want to emphasize again, the fact that I'm voting to remove this funding doesn't mean I don't support it. It means that I don't believe that it's ready. I don't believe there's a plan. And should that plan be completed, I'll be more than happy to entertain that on the council floor. Any questions?
Questions from the members on this proposal?
I guess I do.
Councilmember Cowden.
You kind of answered it, except I needed a little bit more information. When my first year here, we had $750,000 for that bathroom at Vindina Stadium. That was in the spring of 2019. Everything's gone up. Why do we think we can still do the same amount? I agree that it's a lot of money, but did you talk to contractors? I mean, do you have some sort of affirmation that we can do it? It's obviously putting the sewer line in, the water line in, it's a distance. Like, is the $750,000 a rough guess, or is it, do we know that that's the right amount?
I did not talk to a contractor. I'm basing this amount based on what we received back from the administration. Again, I don't think that we should be just throwing money at it. I mean, I think if 750 is not enough, like I said earlier, they come back and they get a money bill. We do money bills all the time. We've done money bills for, Mr. Kaua'i knows this, for the wastewater. I mean, constantly. And so, it's not that if it doesn't pass here, it's not going to happen. It just, we need to have that communication with the administration that if it's not 750, then we need to know what the number is. But like I said, the rationale, the admin's rationale is as long as we have the money in there, we can always come back if we need more.
Okay.
Any other questions from the members on the proposal?
I just want to make a quick statement. No, I just want to clarify, even though Chair mentioned the YWCA is not in this proposal.
Correct.
I think for me, would you be willing to leave some money in the wellness productivity incentive line item and then maybe reduce maybe the invasive species mitigation, just some money? I think in most cases, for the rodeo arena, we're leaving money in so they can get started if they wanted to right away and have money available. The comfort stations, we're basically moving money from comfort stations to North Medina Restroom, which is a comfort station. So I don't see a lot of problems with that. It's just the wellness and productivity incentive line item is the only line item I think. If we eliminate it, then they'd be starting from zero.
Let me just say this. I don't understand. So you're saying if I take out money,
leave some money in the wellness. Then I'm just trying to look at other areas where because if you take out some, then you gotta take out from the ads too over here. So I was just looking.
So if you drop, if I reduce the cut from 500
to say an amount and
let me because this is what I'm willing to do.
Okay.
If we drop the wellness program, reduce the cut to 400,000,
okay,
and reduce the ad for invasive species mitigation, being that the administration has increased the funding by 100,000, would I get your support?
Yeah.
Done.
okay.
I'm going to add on that. I'm in agreement with Council Member Kaneshiro. In this add and removal, it still has a remaining of 165.
I have additional,
Oh.
but because of
Oh, I
the
see.
situation that we're in, we cannot have the discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I would have to amend my motion. I would move to amend my proposal to reducing the cut on wellness and productivity incentive to 400,000, and amending my ad for invasive species mitigation and OED to 100, reducing it to 100,000.
I second the amendment.
Thank you.
We have to vote on the amendment to the proposal, or can it be a friendly amendment? Yeah. Any other questions from the members? If not, any discussion from the members?
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Connoisseur. You know, I think I said enough, but I think when we look at our budget, there's, if you go back to all the meetings that we've had on this council, on any council, all the discussions that we've had pertaining to the hundreds of issues that we discuss on this table, we are always, this council and any council always has suggestions or comments or concerns about how we are doing things, and this is our opportunity to make the change. Today's meeting is the meeting that we have to make the change as we see now. Trust me, my original proposal was a lot larger, it was a lot more, because I think there's so much more we need to do. But I'm also a realist, and I'm trying to be practical. These ads that I have added, again, the restroom, Ms. Cotton, as you talk about, this has been on the books for a very long time. I mean, I got to go back probably 10 years, 12 years maybe. And some of these other issues that we're discussing here, like the bus program, I don't think we should have any waiting list for people that are in need of transportation to get around this island. I'm sure that 40,000 is enough, but I'd be willing to support more if we needed it. So I'm not asking for ads of swimming pools or tennis courts or any of that stuff. What I'm asking, the cuts are to supply the ads that have a direct benefit to our citizens and our residents. And I just really appreciate, Mr. Connoisseur, I appreciate your flexibility as well. And all of you, I hope I can get your support. Thank you.
Councilmember Kaua'i.
I just wanted to say thank you, Chair. I think this is an important proposal. And then just to give folks an idea of the numbers, this entire proposal and moving of $1.2 million from some expenses to these other ones that we think are more important only represents 0.4% of our entire operating budget. It's not even 1%. So this council is doing its job when it tackles items like this. And this is just a very small thing. Thank you.
Councilmember Carvalho and Councilmember Kaua'i.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that all of these areas are obviously very important, and how we discuss each line item area and the funding that is needed. To me, and knowing for the past, that is not really saying no. It's still on the table for me. We just need to get more information as we continue to move forward. If we defund less in one area, add more funding here. But my point is that each area, to me, listed here is very important. We've talked about this from the rodeo to the wellness, all of it. And so I think my point would be that, yes, we're supporting this, I'm supporting this, but at the same time, there's a way to bring it back to the table for further discussion, for additional opportunities down the road. Kind of looking at each area, and is it ready or not, how far away is it, and how we can continue to look at it, working closely with the administration and the county council, of course, to continue to not forget about it, but keep it at the table. And to me, that's the important part as we went through each one of these areas. So again, that's where I'm at, and It's not a no, it's more about let's work it together, balance it, come back with more information. We need additional funding here, less in here, and then go. I think has been my experience, and I think that's something that we can talk about and move forward on. So thank you.
Councilmember Kaua'i.
Thank you. I am basically willing to support this. I know for me, the real big glaring problem that I think is the elephant in the room is the water department, and I understand that that's separate. If I could, I would take $7 million out of the CIP budget and move it over so that we are able to address all these issues that undergird everything from fire to housing to parks. I mean, it's such a profound problem, and I pay attention to how they're looking to fund it, and I think that will be very, very difficult for any of the working population. And I look at how we do fund wastewater and we do fund solid waste, so it's a little confounding to me that we spend money on resurfacing courts, and I appreciate how happy. I've gotten a lot of thank yous from pickleball players. But when I look at turf on a football field, and when we don't have water needs to address really important issues. But my understanding is I can't do that here because of the division between it being a semi-autonomous group. So to me, that's the biggest glaring challenge, and I hope that the county, we have two key people in the county that are on the board of water, that somehow we work together to help water meet its needs and goals. I mean, they're so profound.
Councilmember, we're talking about this proposal.
Okay, so that's the glaring piece to me. I'm good with this, but I have that other challenge.
Councilmember Bolosan.
Yeah, I'd like to mahalo, Council Chair, for proposing these changes. Both the removal and additions, I think, reflect some of the needs that the community are consistently asking us. And I understand that the mayor and the administration has a difficult task every year to do this. It's always the thought in my head is always too little or too late. And how do you solve a problem when you're doing the best that you can when you don't have enough money or enough resources? So we're shuffling what we can. I appreciate Councilmember Kaneshiro on that amendment. I want to keep the $500,000 in there for the wellness. I do agree with the chair that we need more of a stronger proposal, but I always, in my mind, as a small business owner and a person that practices, you always invest in your team. That's like the number one thing you can do. And I really appreciate the testimony. So I'm glad that we're able to, in the addition and in the change, that we're able to still fund it. I just want to say publicly that I'm definitely open to, in the future of the budget or a money bill in the future, that I would love to make sure that this program gets funded properly so that it can function in the future. And so if that comes in the future, then I'm looking forward to it. The other piece I want to add to is our invasive species mitigation this is a tough one. If we could have both, I would want to keep the 200 and the 500, but you're just playing with peanuts here, and this is a tough decision. So I'm appreciated that we are putting more funds towards addressing that, because that is a much larger problem than I think people realize. And so again, I will say that I'm in full support of this. With commentary that's saying that in the near future, I hope our administration can find a way for us to finalize this wellness productive incentive program so that I can help get that going for our team, and any way we can do to solve our invasive species mitigation, I'm all game for.
I just have a question on that, dropping from 500,000 to 400 on the wellness and productivity incentive. How is the 100,000 going to be used? I mean, what's the difference between having nothing and having something when there is no plan? Would $100,000 you think would make it begin?
Having zero money, I don't think they would even start it. Having $100,000, they know that they have a budget that they can work with on talking about different type of incentive plans that they can do.
Okay.
I mean, at zero money, I think we're just telling them, like, we don't want the program at all. At $100,000, it's, see what you guys are going to propose and come back to us. That's why I thought we should have some money in there so that they could move forward on something.
I'll just say,
Council Chair Raposo.
for process, all of us have the ability right now to do what I just did. So if you feel like you need more money in invasive species, you just got to find a cut that can happen. But that's what today's about. So if you have a burning desire to, I don't like dropping that to 100 grand, but I also, you know, politics isn't it the art of compromise? And half of something is better than all or nothing. So, but yeah, feel free to, you know, chat with the administration on a break and look at how you could up that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember
I was
Cosby, you
gonna
have
say,
a
can we
question?
take $200,000 out of resurfacing courts and put it into invasive species?
That would be a separate proposal from this.
Right.
If that's something you want to propose.
Okay.
Councilmember Holland, then I'll come back.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for this. I really appreciate that it's difficult and we have to make choices on some of this stuff. I also support the idea of incentives to ensure people are showing up to work. I mean, I think it's kind of sad that we have to do that, but I also understand that's reality. In the workforce, it's been very difficult to find reliable people, and we're already still, we have so many vacancies. So I totally understand the incentive, and I understand and value it for what it's trying to do. I also value the rodeo and agree that some investment in that is good to move that forward. And I really obviously appreciate the mindset of all of my colleagues in talking about the invasive species issue and trying to bring additional funding to address those, and particularly the concern around the Little Fire Act being at a place where eradication might still be possible, I think is a really, really valuable investment in our future. So yeah, I really appreciate all of this and the hard work that went into it, and yeah, you have my support on this.
Councilmember Rolosan?
I just want to mahalo, Chair, for those last comments. I'm in agreement. It's tough to bring a proposal at this part of the stage of the budget, because we've evaluated so much, and our team on the other side, administration, has done so much to make sure that we're well balanced. And so I appreciate this proposal. I appreciate this proposal, and I think it reflects some of the things that we should accomplish.
Anyone else? Yeah, I just want to thank Council Chair for being flexible enough to adjust the proposal. It's a big proposal and it hits a lot of important things. Do I think the county should be paying for invasive species mitigation and little fire ant mitigation? Probably not. But is anyone else going to fund it? Is the federal going to fund it? No. Is the state going to fund it? I haven't seen much. So at the end of the day, we're the boots on the ground people. We're the county. We have to take care of everything nobody else wants to fund, and that's the way it goes. So I do support these type of mitigations, especially if you're looking at $100,000 that can eliminate it in the Kaua'i area. If we don't do that, it's going to continue to spread. As far as invasive species mitigation, we did get some money from the state for the parrots, and I thought it worked. In Lihui area, I didn't see as much parrots. I think maybe they ended up getting scared and going elsewhere. But there was a big push on that, and I think that's where a push should be. At the end of the day, we've got more than just one invasive species. We have coconut rhinoceros beetle that's here now. I don't see any viable solution right now, and I don't see much coming from the feds or the state on it. So again, whose shoulders does it fall on? Us, the boots on the ground guys, the county. Yeah, as far as everything else, I'm glad we were able to leave some money in for the incentive and wellness productivity program. I do think in the future we're going to have a hard time getting employees at the county. I think in the past, everyone used to say county benefits were so great and so good, it's okay if the salary was low. And over time, I've seen the benefits erode and then the salaries not go up so high. And we just haven't been that competitive with private. Paying for medical was a great thing I think the county did when I wasn't here, shucks. But, that's huge for employees. And I think, we're going to have to take these steps to provide employee benefits for the county to get employees in the future. We see how difficult it is to fill vacancies. And so, yeah, I do agree that we do need some type of incentive program or some type of benefit to be able to keep and hold good employees and to be able to incentivize new employees to come on. And so, as far as the desktop review software, I know Scott talked about it, and I know just through some of the small implementations he's made, already we've already saved the county $1 million or found $1 million. I think with this, he'll be able to, find a lot more money coming into the county too. It's going to pay for itself easily. And so I'm in favor of this proposal. It's a big chunk. I think we're not cutting the legs off anything. I think the admin is still going to be able to operate the way they do, and I think we're able to spread some costs out to some other programs that the council is interested in. So, any other final discussion from the members? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho?
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Kaua'i?
Aye?
Council Chair Opozo?
All right.
Committee Chair Kaneshiro?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you, guys. Keep it going.
Oh, I didn't even know what the motion is.
You can amend as circulated and second, and then keep it back and dig out.
Okay.
I think I have a feeling I know what the next amendment is.
Okay, I move to approve the proposal as submitted, and this is 2 ads for the YWCA. So, Mr. Puli, if you'd like to.
Yeah. So, Chair,
Second.
Budget Chair Kaneshiro, because I am a part-time employee of 6 hours a week in accounting, working on bank reconciliations and payroll processing at the YWCA of Kaua'i, I am recusing myself from this item as an overabundance of caution.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, any proposal to add is going to take 5 votes from the members. Chair proposal.
Thank you. And let me just assure everyone, this did not come from Mr. Kaua'i. The county has historically, traditionally funded the sexual assault treatment program and the family violence shelter for as long as I can remember, and we funded it significantly. And over the years, it has diminished, and forcing the YWCA to rely on private funding or donations. When I got the letter from Ms. Lum about a month ago and looked at the history, and again, mahalo to our staff for doing all the research, the funding dropped significantly. The VOCA grant that funds these programs was cut as well at the prosecuting attorney's office. And let me just speak. The proposal is to add $75,000 to the sexual assault treatment program and $85,000 for the family violence shelter. And let me just speak based on personal experience as a former police officer, is that YWCA services is vital to our community. It is vital to our community. Honestly, Mr. Bolasan, if there was anywhere I would like to add more money, would be in these 2 lines, because that 24-hour hotline saves lives. That family violence shelter saves lives. And I was kind of disappointed to see that the funding had been reduced over the years. But this 2 ads brings the funding back to the levels that we funded them in 2020. So we're still behind, but this is a good start, and I think this provides some relief to the YWCA for their services that, to me, are sorely needed. And I hope I can get your support. Yes, it takes 5 votes. We only have 6, so I'm asking for everybody to support this.
Any questions from the members? And again, Council Chair did find the cut for it already. So, but this ad will take 5 votes. But we do have $160,000 still outstanding from the previous proposal. Any questions from the members on this? Any discussion from the members? If not, Councilmember Holland.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize, I do also think that this program saves lives and is critical, and I appreciate this proposal and the thought that went into it. Thank you.
Again,
Councilmember Carvalho.
for me, it's all about families and making sure that they have the support and continue support, whatever we got to do at this side of the fence, if you will. This is the time to do it, and I support that.
Okay, no other discussion. We'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan.
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho.
All right.
Councilmember Cowden.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Kuli'i is recused. Councilmember Raposo, Council Chair Raposo.
Aye.
Committee Chair Kaneshiro.
Aye. Motion passes. Do you have any other proposals from the members?
I have one that, but I need to write it up.
I have one more.
Oh.
I have two more. One is, they're basically two housekeeping, I would say. One is by request of administration. Let's start with the golf course marshal. I move to approve the proposal as submitted, and this is to add text and $1 in a position for a golf course marshal.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
So I think two reasons why I did this. Number one, our ordinance requires the golf course to have a marshal. That's in the code, and we don't. There was at some point we got rid of the marshal position. I'm not sure why, but the code requires it. The second reason is I don't think Mr. Connoisseur was here. Were you here when we did the liquor, intoxicating liquor on the golf course?
I was here and it kept failing every time we tried to pass
Okay.
it. So I never seen it pass.
It finally passed with the last council, and there was a lot of discussion. Staff actually pulled up the transcripts from the discussion at the meeting, and there was assurances from the administration that the marshal was going to be reinstated because we're now going to be serving alcohol on the golf course. So this puts the position back in. I didn't put $1, aside from $1, we basically created the line. But I didn't put a salary or benefits because I did have a text relay with the Parks Director, and obviously they will need some time to develop this. But this basically puts the line back in, and we can move forward with filling that position, which is required and also definitely preferred once we start selling alcohol on a course.
Any questions from the members on this proposal? Councilmember Cowden.
I just need you to clarify that. How is this position getting funded? You said you got a text, and so they have money that they have.
No, it's a I'm
You're
just
dollar funding it.
correct.
So
So
how are they going to fill the amount?
they'll come back like we talked earlier
Okay.
with a money bill. They could actually, within the way the monies work, if it's within their department, they can do an internal transfer of funds without having to come to the council. So if it comes from an external source, then obviously it requires a money bill.
No, I want to add it.
Okay. Any other questions? Any discussion from the members? If not, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan.
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho.
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Kuli'i.
Aye.
Council Chair Raposo.
Aye.
Committee Chair Kaneshiro.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-9.
Council Chair, you have one more.
I have one more. This is a technical edit requested by the administration, and it is, so I move to approve the proposal to add, remove $1. So this is we got to remove $1 from special projects in elderly affairs, and we got to put that in elderly affairs in another line item called other supplies. So that's a cut and an add.
Second.
Okay.
So if anybody, it's basic housekeeping. We will need 5 votes because the ad is in here as well.
Any questions on this housekeeping item from the members? Not any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan.
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho.
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Kuli'i.
Aye.
Council Chair Raposo.
Aye.
Committee Chair Kaneshiro.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all the proposals I have.
Okay. And if we need some time, we can take a recess. We'll take a 10-minute recess can be our caption breakthrough and come back with a proposal. Okay, welcome back. I think when we last left off, Councilmember Cowden was preparing a proposal or had one in the process. So,
Okay,
Councilmember Cowden,
I move to amend as circulated, or move to,
can I get a second?
Second.
Is it circular?
It's coming.
coming. So, in this one, I got the wrong one. Last year, when we had our island-wide play court resurfacing, we had about $8 million in there, and we used half of it. My understanding is that we have projects available that are kind of ready to go, and however, of that $4 million, I would like to take $200 million, put, I mean, 200,000, thank you. I was looking at all these extra zeros that just came out. And then put 100,000, add that an additional amount to the invasive species because I feel that that is a real challenge that we're having. And then put another 100,000 into the family violence shelter. When we heard from the YWCA, they are short $380,000. And so I'm sure they will really appreciate the 160. I'm happy to move it to 260. Both of these problems are really critical, and I appreciate how much people enjoy playing sports, but I think with it being such a small percentage of that budget, we can pull that with a money bill later. Like these two issues are things that we need to come out of the box really strong on, and we have had a depletion in services. Other nonprofits are struggling right now. So that is what my proposal is here too. An extra 100 for invasive species, extra 100 for the family violence shelter, and removing 200 from the island-wide play court resurfacing out of their roughly $4 million.
Any questions from the members? Councilmember Holland?
Are we allowed to call Director Porter up and ask about this?
Yeah. Suspend the rules.
Or Todd too.
It's going to Office of Economic Development, granting aid. Oh,
It's
as far as
removing-
play court resurfacing.
Yeah.
Might be Todd
Todd.
too with CIT.
Thank you, guys. I just trying to understand if this 200,000 was taken out of the island-wide play court resurfacing for projects this year, would that negatively affect our parks? Are you concerned about that? Do you believe you need the full amount of the money that was allocated?
So Pat Porter, Director of Parks. So we would like the full amount. For main reason being that this current fiscal year we're in design for 9 courts or 9 separate parks, and with the funds for the next fiscal year that's going to be available, it looks like we're probably going to be able to do maybe 4 or 5 of those. So we're already not going to be able to do the full amount that we're going to be having designed for. So this would cut into that amount too, yeah. So we're already not going to be able to do construct as many courts as we have designed.
So you're already limited by the amount of funds that you have in what you're doing.
Yeah, correct.
And would this equate to, sorry, what was the total? 4 million?
4 million, yes.
4 million for resurfacing. And this would equate to 1 park, 2 parks, just to get an idea of what would it be?
It'll probably cut out one park because we wouldn't be able to fund that full amount. Yeah, for that 1 park.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Cowden.
Yes. So we were just hearing about pulling money with money bills. Last year, you spent about half of a really substantial amount of money that we set aside that was, at that time, we were told was all needed. Why can't you pull? Can you pull from something else later? I mean, is there any reason to think that you can't?
So are you referring to the actual play court resurfacing?
Yes,
fund that-
because like when we move forward with it, how many play courts do we work with at a time?
So it depends on the funding we have, yeah. And so at the end of this fiscal year, we're currently in design for 9. So when this fiscal year finishes, we'll have design for 9 courts. No, 9. I don't want to say courts because some parks have tennis and basketball combined, right? So 9 sites. So we'll have design plans for 9 sites, and then it just depends on how much money we have available to us the next fiscal year. Is how many of those we can actually construct, right? So when this money becomes available, we're pretty much going to be shovel ready to go and put out those bids for those additional courts to get constructed. And so by removing funds from it, we are cutting into that pot, yeah.
So can you help me understand why last year we had budgeted twice as much as we needed?
We didn't budget twice as much as we needed. All of those funds will be encumbered.
They'll be encumbered now, but we didn't use a lot of them. We had a lot sitting. Like when we looked at our budget from last year, and even at the 6-month thing, a lot of the money wasn't even encumbered. So it seems like it takes a while.
Yeah, because of the design process and then the construction process. Yeah, it does take a while.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Councilor Cowden, do you think this proposal is still necessary, being that we already allocated with the last proposal $100,000 to invasive species mitigation, and we allocated $160,000 to YWCA?
Yes, and that's because I think honestly these crises are more important than playtime. We've had, court services have been problematic for a while. We see when they are redone, sometimes they're not lined right with the wind. I mean, we've had different challenges.
No, I'm not talking about the play cards, but I'm saying we just allocated
I know.
$100,000 to invasive and $160,000 to wide. So do you think they still need
Yes, I do.
another $100,000 and another $100,000?
Yes, can I answer that? So
that was my question.
So we've talked about the profound challenge of the coconut rhinoceros beetle really having $100,000, whatever little bit we have there to deal with that. That is a small amount for what is probably really needed. And then when they're looking at invasive species, I put it in the broad term because we have a number of challenges, and if we don't get on top of these things right away, we don't take advantage of it. $100,000 is maybe one person plus some, their benefits and then some materials. So one person to be going out and dealing with this, we really need people in several different parts of the island at the same time. It's a big deal. We've heard a whole lot about it. And then
Okay, I guess I heard your answer. You still think we should allocate more money to the accounts even though we just added to it?
Yes, and then with the violence shelter too, she asked for $380. They're always begging.
I heard she had a deficit of $380.
$380, but deficit of $380. So they're always begging for scraps. And we've lost another facility that isn't owned by YWCA.
Okay. Any other questions from the members? Council Chair Raposo.
Follow up for that. Typically, in my experience, the budgeted amount falls short of construction. Is that? Are you seeing that with the play courts?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because that is always a concern, right? It seems like, but when we do our estimates, and by the time we actually go out to construct, the prices have gone up. So this would impact you severely, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other CIP projects out there that could, or a combination of projects that could absorb, these projects that aren't shovel ready, maybe that aren't ready to move, or that won't be ready to move? Off the top, I know it's just awkward to ask you this question right now without.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of, because we kind of prioritized our request this year based off of those shovel ready projects. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carvalho.
Just my first question. So the program itself, just the resurfacing, has been moving along, right? And this funding is set aside to actually be used because of the need right now, right?
Yeah.
Because overall, the program is in place, play court to play court, which involves from Keiki to Kupuna, pretty much. So I just want to make sure I hear what you said, that this funding is actually.
Yeah, correct. So we, with Mayor's support throughout these years, we've been able to get onto a rotation for and which is what we wanted, yeah, as far as our play courts, and we've been able to get it funded and get it on this rotation, and we're steady with that, and we're actually doing well, yeah. So.
Councilmember Holland.
One more question for you, Director Porter. Is one of these parks Kaua'i Park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Any other questions from the members? If not, any discussion from the members? Councilmember Holland.
I really appreciate this, Councilmember Cowden. I think it's obviously incredibly important to invest in the YWCA and invasive species. As the chair for parks, I am concerned about taking away some of this money because, as Director Porter said, a lot of this stuff is already shovel ready. But more so, I'm constantly been reminded in this struggle around the invasive species stuff, how much this is weighing on the county already and our funds when we have so many responsibilities already, and parks is so underfunded that as a chair of parks, it's hard for me to approve taking stuff out of the parks budget because I work so closely with Director Porter in trying to move some of these projects forward. So it's very difficult for me because I obviously really care about the invasive species mitigation, but I'm working really hard to push the state to put more money forward for that as well, because that's really a state responsibility. And like Councilmember Kaneshiro so well explained, it falls back on us. And unfortunately that's the reality, and we do, I mean, I think it is important. I'm not totally sure that, and I kind of would like to hear from OED on this, on what this money would be used for, because I think they're already not sure of where that additional money could go outside of just grants. So again, it comes down to like, what is the plan for the spending of that money? And is that something that they're able to take on? And yeah, I mean, we can't give the YWCA enough money, but yeah, funding our parks and funding our critical infrastructure needs, I think, is what the community expects first and foremost of us. So it's difficult for me to say.
So I have a response.
This discussion, Councilmember Bolosan, then
Okay.
Councilmember Cowden.
Yeah, I just want to again thank Councilmember Khan for proposing this. After hearing our Director of Parks comments, knowing that these are coming from shovel-ready projects, I will not support this proposal, so we can continue these proposed projects.
Councilmember Cowden.
Okay, so if ball courts are more important than invasive species, would you take that off? We could take that off and still help the women that are struggling so hard? Would you agree with that?
Again, this is just difficult for me in general because as Chair of Parks and Rec, I understand how much Director Porter has been working on these things, and on the spot to make that call, I'm not totally comfortable with it. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest, because I obviously think that that's super important to invest the money into the YWCA, and I'm grateful that we've done that $160,000. And I also think the invasive species is super important as well. Like, I 100% agree. I just know that Parks and Rec is one of our primary responsibilities, and I just feel like they're already underfunded and we're already struggling so much in our parks. Yeah.
Any other discussion from the members? Yeah, I appreciate the proposal, but I'm not going to be able to vote for it. I'm not willing to take away money from island-wide play court and resurfacing. Those courts are used, a lot by the public. I think even my daughter uses one, Puoloke. And yeah, that one is pretty bust up. There's like weeds coming through it. And she's taking up tennis. Todd's daughter's taking up tennis. There's not a lot of places for kids to play tennis either. So, the more surfaces we can resurface and make available to better, because there's they're getting used a lot by pickleball, tennis, basketball, whatever it is. So I think our community deserves resurfaced play courts. I remember Kaua'i was like horrible for years, and we resurfaced that. Now you pass Kaua'i, it's used pretty much every single day, and so yeah, it kind of like hurts me when we go by and like the play courts are just in disarray. So I'm not willing to take away money from that. Also, in addition, we did just add $100,000 for invasive species mitigation, and we did just add $160,000 for the YWCA. In the previous proposal, I believe they were asking for $85,000 or something like that too. So, yeah, I cannot support this proposal.
Okay, I just have a final comment.
Councilmember Collins.
I probably find this, maybe you all are meeting with women who are currently staying in the shelter. In the past month, I've had lunch with two who were really struggling being in there. It's overcrowded. It's very difficult. I've talked to one who's unwilling to go there. Domestic violence is a big problem. So perhaps to me, I'm going to prioritize, the safety of our women and children over the entertainment of them. So I really see it as where is our priority. So for me, it sits a little flat to say it's not more important than taking care of our families that are battered, and that is ties for 1 and 2 is domestic violence and drugs are our biggest problems on the island. So it is a real key issue, but I can do the math and I can see that the decision is made.
Councilmember Holland.
Yeah, I want to echo that, Councilmember. I totally agree with you. I think, investing in women that need support, obviously, I'm a huge advocate for. I think about this a little bit more around the lines of this investing in the play court is investing in our children having something to do so they don't end up on drugs. To me, it's like, our park in Kaua'i is pretty damaged as well. I agree with, I think the more that we provide people and children particularly the opportunity to become passionate about sports, to become passionate about other things that keep them away from drugs, I think leads to, it's like pulling people out upstream before it gets there. So I actually see them as similar. I don't think it's more important to invest in play court resurfacing than women in need at all. And I'm, again, really grateful for that $160,000 that's going to be invested there. But I see it as investing in the future and investing in our children and investing in their opportunity to not end up in the situations that lead to needing more services and the YWCA at a greater amount. So again, it's difficult for me, especially as chair of Parks and Rec, to approve that takeaway. But I really understand and value your sentiment.
Okay. Any other discussion, Council Chair Opposal?
Yeah, I just wanted to. Nalani is here from OED, and she shared with me that currently they have approximately $250,000 slated for invasive, or CRB actually. And that doesn't include the $100,000 that we just put in. So that's $350,000. And the state, I think we gotta really push the state to fund more. My position is still the same, even with CRB, that you can have all the money in an account, but if you don't have the plan, you don't have the nonprofit, you don't have the organization that can actually execute a plan that will eradicate these beetles, it's just money sitting in an account. Right now, from my research and my discussions I've had, and Fern, thank you for allowing me to sit in the Zoom with the Department of Ag, Health, and whoever else. I came out of that meeting learning that nobody knows what to do, and everybody's waiting for someone else to come up with the silver bullet, which doesn't exist. So I'm satisfied with the funding that we have put in, as well as the YWCA. And I had a long meeting with Cheryl a few days ago, where she shared with me the deficit, and I plan to have more meetings with her to at least help her, because she's brand new with the Y, to help her utilizing some of our grant resources at OPA to secure some of these grant funds to come up with some solutions for their deficits. So, yeah, I agree. I think I agree with Councilmember Holland as the benefits of the resurfacing. I think Mayor Kaua'i took a bold step years ago and putting a big chunk of money in there. And honestly, there's a lot of people that have come up and said thank you for the courts. I don't think it's fair to say, if you support the courts, you don't support battered women. I don't think that's fair, because obviously both are important. But I think cutting short the schedule of projects on the CIP schedule, I think is detrimental as well. So that's where I'm at.
Any further discussion, Councilor Caballo?
In simple terms, for me, it's all about balance and making sure that we have enough here and enough there, and making sure we complete. And I appreciate the discussion overall. I mean, invasive species, of course, is at the forefront as well. And we have funding there. Economic development is working really well with all the different parts, And so I think overall the balance of everything, and it's important we continue and move forward with the play courts. At the same time, it's not just throwing it out there. It's going to happen. And then the bigger picture to follow. So that's where I'm at right now. So
Okay, any last discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
No.
Councilmember Carvalho?
no,
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
No.
Councilmember Kaua'i is recused. Council Chair Opozo?
No.
And Committee Chair Panashiro?
No.
Motion fails.
We have other proposals? Councilmember Kaua'i.
I move to remove $37,500 from Constituent Relations Coordinator Kaua'i line item in the Office of the County Clerk, Council Services, wages, and hourly pay, leaving the position text at $37,500 remaining, and adding a new line item for an additional Constituent Relations Coordinator Kaua'i at $37,500.
You get a second.
Second.
So this item basically is a zero-cost item. It's moving funds from one line item to a second line item that is created. And it was always my initial intent with the funding from last year that I would hire two positions at a lower level, a constituent relations coordinator. And so we need two separate line items so that I can do that. So it's more of a housekeeping. Thank you.
Any questions from the members?
I have a comment.
Councilmember Cowden.
I want to just really thank the mayor for allowing, being the one who brought the money forward a little over a year ago, 2 years ago, and acknowledging that on Oahu they have 6 full-time staff members. Maui, I believe it's 4. Hawaii, it is 3. And the outcome of having staff members, mine are developing along with me. I'm so grateful for having them. It makes such a tremendous difference. It is a lot of research. It's a lot of being able to look at the details. It's a lot of being able to look in a short period of time like what the other islands are able to do on different topics. There was a comment that was made in the public hearings about the budget, saying that it's just somebody to show up and look pretty or something to that effect. This is real work happens, and I think that as time goes by, as we develop staff that can move perhaps beyond, when people term out or move, our council will become even stronger, and it will be better for our regular council services staff to not be pulled in the position of having to conceivably advocate for one or another. So I just want to take that moment to say it is really money well spent to have us be more competent and capable and research. So I fully support you're having a second person. And when we have these part-time positions right now, they're contract employees, so the amount is really pretty minimal in terms of any kind of extra benefits.
Any questions from the members? Any discussion from the members? Yeah, there's no change to the budget. It's just going from one constituent to two and splitting the amount. So I'm okay with it. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho?
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Kaua'i? Council Chair Opozo?
Aye.
Committee Chair Kanashiro?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion passes.
Councilmember Bolasan.
I got a proposal here. I move to remove 37,500 from the constituent relations coordinator under Bolasan in the office of the county clerk, council services, wages, and hourly pay, leaving position text and 37,500 remaining, and adding a new line item for an additional constituent relations coordinator under Bolasan at 37,500. This is the same as Vice Chair.
Any questions from the members? Any discussion? Not, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho?
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Kaua'i?
Aye.
Council Chair Opozo?
Aye.
Committee Chair Kanashiro?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion passes.
Any other proposals from the members? Okay. No other proposals from the members? Okay, if there's no other proposals, can I get a motion to and a second to accept the proposal for real property tax rates?
I move to accept the real property tax rate submitted by the mayor in resolution number 2025-21.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
I want to look at them first.
There's no change to the real property tax rates.
I have discussion.
Councilmember Cowden.
I am going to support it in terms of being of good spirit. I have, is this it? I share the same concern that I did last year when we have such disproportionate tax rates. You know, I really appreciate that we really support owner-occupant, but we have this range where some people, particularly my biggest concern is long-term tenants that pay above the low threshold. I regularly am seeing powerful troubles with people in that area. There is a constant exodus from the island because people can't afford their rent. I speak to people who can't or don't want to continue owning the houses and are putting the houses on the market because they don't want to go into vacation rental or they can't go into vacation rental, but it's too hard to be hard on their tenants. Even just this week, had a very heartbreaking story with somebody that when we have separated out the investor class from the just non-owner occupant, we've mixed those two together, so we have really big challenges. And then even, you know, as we raise the rates on vacation rentals, and now we've seen the TAT tax go up again another 0.75. I talk to people in Hanalei. You know, I live on the North Shore, but where they're renting like 50% and they're not booking out, you know, we're finding a certain threshold of problems with all the challenges with the road construction, everything else. And so all of that feeds down into the businesses, into everything. So we are grinding away at our economy in these higher end, higher priced areas. And I'm actually happy that the real estate market is flattening, that things aren't moving in a day, that things are sitting on the market when they're asking for these crazy high prices, because that's one of the things that is just raising the rates. I know one of the shopping centers, their rates almost doubled, so all of that pushed on their tenants. So 3 family-owned mom-and-pop businesses have closed or are closing in the next month in one shopping center alone. So there is a lot of pressure, and you know, we have to figure out a way. It's very difficult because we want to keep our people on the island, and we want to. We have to pay the bills, and I guess we need new court surfaces and new, you know, all of those kind of things. We need these things, but being houseless, being on the edge of being able to have a house, all that stress of how you're going to pay the rent at the end of the month, being in overcrowded housing, those kind of things too also add to drug addiction. Those kind of things also add to family violence. There's a lot of pressure, and most of this is so far outside of anything that the mayor's office really has their hands around, because it's coming at a national level where we have all this inflationary pressure. I'm glad to see that it's leveling, but I'm going to vote yes on our real property rates, but I'm as equally uncomfortable with them as I was last year.
Any other discussion from the members? Councilor Kaua'i?
Yeah, I just wanted to send a message to the administration about my hope for the budget next year. And we don't know what our financial situation might be, and times may get tougher, and we may need additional revenues, or we even may want to reallocate or assess where we're getting our revenue from with regards to our real property taxes and our real property tax rates. And I just want to say that since we have this new system where we can create rates by tiers within categories, that and we already do that for non-owner occupied residential and for vacation rental, but that's the only 2 categories that we currently do it for, and we have 5, 6, 7 other categories, including, of course, our regular owner occupied, right? The former homestead exemption, which basically everyone gets, whether you have a very modest house or whether you have a, you know, several $million-dollar mansion. And we may in the future want to distinguish between that and potentially look at that. So I thought about doing it this session, and it was kind of last minute and not necessarily. But in the future it may be, and I just wanted to put that forward for the administration in the future. Thank you.
Councilor Kaua'i?
I want to support what he's saying, that I really look forward to perhaps working with the mayor to look at if we need to make some adaptations about how we pocket the money. Because as I brought up earlier, water is one of the most essential things to be able to build a house, even more than wastewater, because a lot of the houses don't have wastewater. I mean, not wastewater at the county level. So I think that when we have pocketed some of this money, I'd like to be able to see if we can either deal with it with water, or when we set money aside last time when we raised the vacation rental rates, it got set into a housing fund for at least what was said, buying new land. I don't know how strong that is, or necessarily in building the housing revolving fund, but what we have learned about is having an impact fund where maybe loans can be made out in exchange for a deed restriction, where we look at being able to help people have the money for a down payment, or how to be able to do really needed improvements when they can't either pay their taxes, or they have to put on an extra room, and they have to put something in a septic system, and they just can't move forward. Those ways, or even if we do like the ADU, how we can use that impact fund money to be able to keep people in housing rather than building housing in the future that might take 10 years to complete.
Anyone else? If not, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho?
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Kuali'i?
Aye.
Council Chair Raposo?
Aye.
Committee Chair Panashiro?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion passes.
I have one more, Chair. I move to allow council services staff the ability to make adjustments to balance the budget.
Second.
Any questions from members on this? This is basically to allow if any numbers were off by a penny or whatnot, that it can be adjusted to be correct. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Councilmember Bolasan?
Aye.
Councilmember Carvalho?
Aye.
Councilmember Cowden?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Kuali'i?
Aye.
Council Chair Raposo?
Aye.
Committee Chair Panashiro?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. At this time, before I do make my final comments, I will suspend the rules and let the mayor come up and say anything he wants. On the budget process.
Again, thank you, Chair, Committee Chair and Vice Chair. You know, a lot of what has shaped me as mayor took place when I was sitting on that side of the table. And we always wanted to make sure that the council felt that this budget was truly a collective process. And so we started implementing things by meeting with council members one-on-one before the budget to see if there was any top priorities. But I realized that that's difficult because a lot changes between those meetings before we set the budget and after. You know, I just really feel grateful for this council. I mean, as mayor, I couldn't ask for a better council to work with. We don't always agree, but that's not what was intended when they created this system that we operate under. It was designed to look after our taxpayers. It was designed to make sure that there was transparency. And, you know, as much as it is easy to fight over things, I just simply cannot. I take a step back and I take a look at all the initiatives that you have entrusted your faith in our administration, and I have no complaints. What I heard today is that there are some initiatives that we support, but we need more time, and you folks need more time. And yeah, we can come in for a money bill. But you know, this world that we live in is just going crazy with people arguing over little stuff. And I think, you know, Kauai County should be proud that we find a way to work things out amicably, diplomatically, and we don't always get our way, but we always find a way to move forward. And for that, from the bottom of our hearts, we're truly grateful to work with you folks. We'll find a way to move forward. A lot of the initiatives that you brought up are very well intended, and yes, we have to ask the state, you know, where is some of the appropriations that went over to DLNR to combat invasive species going? Is any of that coming to the counties? We haven't heard anything yet. We supported the Office of Prosecuting Attorney with a big chunk of change so that they could implement grant programs. Whether or not the YWCA applied for those grants, I'm not too sure. I was under the understanding that they hadn't, but we have a new executive director, so by gosh, let's get her off on the right foot and support her. I think this budget reflects what can happen when we put ego aside and we just do the work for the good people and for the island that we all love. From the bottom of our hearts, we're truly grateful. The next budget that we put together is going to be the budget for the next mayor. So whatever you guys want to do with that budget, have fun with it. Until next year, fair wind and following seas. Thank you very much.
Can I just
Council Chair Raposo.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you
Mike.
to you and your entire staff, your whole administration. I think our staff, you know, got to deal with us, but we rely on your administration to respond to inquiries. And I got to tell you, the speed of which they respond is just incredible. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of them. They're all here today. Sometimes I get amazed how quick. Is Ken here? Oh, he's right there. He's able to turn over numbers like really, really quickly, and much quicker than I actually expect. So I just want to say thank you to all of your entire team for their responsiveness to this council.
Yeah, and I want to take the time to thank our entire administration, all of our department heads, and then to the folks that come together and provide me good information through our budget team. They spend countless hours. I know that at times I can frustrate them because, you know, the winds change at times and we gotta account for those needs, but they're good sports. They're true public servants. And at the end of the day, I mean, these folks are the folks that will transition over many different mayors. They will always be here with that institutional knowledge. They've taught me so much about the process, and they have made me a better person, and, you know, all kudos go to them. So thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Cowden?
I'll just make a brief comment. I just want to really appreciate the fact that you have us in there, you know, I think this is my 7th budget. I believe at least 6 out of the 7. I appreciate that you've taken the time ahead of time to say what is really important to you. And I would say that the majority of the things that I ask for, I get. So that we really haven't done much of what we did today of having to make any kind of adaptations. So I get it ahead of time. So I just want to thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, our decision making is complete. The committee's decision making session is now complete. Before we adjourn, I'd like to go over a few more housekeeping items. I'll be canceling the decision-making session scheduled for tomorrow, May 14th, 2025. On Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, the Finance and Economic Development Committee will be formally approving all decision-making items by procedurally amending and approving the budget bills, along with receiving the committee's report detailing the various pluses and minuses. I would again respectfully like to ask council members to refrain from making their final commentary that week. As a reminder, both Council Vice Chair Kaua'i and I will not be present during the committee meeting next week due to our board member duties for the Western Interstate Regional Conference. If possible, please plan to make your final comments during the second and final reading of the budget, which will take place on Wednesday, May 28, 2025. The Council will then approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 budgets on second and final reading, and the Council's budget message will be finalized at that time. Again, I just want to thank Mayor Kaua'i and his administration for making my return to chairing the budget a smooth process. I'd also like to thank my colleagues at the table for working diligently and with respect to uphold the integrity of this decision-making process. And lastly, I'd like to thank our county clerk and deputy and council services staff for all of their help through this budget process. I'm thankful that we're one step closer to passing the fiscal year 2025-2026 operating and CIP budgets and approving the real property tax rates. With that, the Finance and Economic Development Committee's decision-making session is now adjourned.